Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. I hope you guys are doing good. Today I'm going to be starting to wrap up the fuel system on the all-wheel drive Civic. Probably won't finish it, probably will take me a few nights after works to finish this all, but we're going to start tonight. We have to finish doing the fuel lines and the fuel pump wiring, which I'm going to be putting a 70 amp relay kit on it, which I have right here. I got this from PFI, but you can also get them from, I forget the other company, but it's a little bit cheaper, but I decided to purchase it from PFI to support them because I really like them. So I also am going to be we're going to be doing the fuel lines and then adding a fuel filter, and I'm only going to be doing 6 AN feed and return because I've mentioned it before in like previous fuel tank videos that I'm not planning on making a bunch of horsepower. If I can do 500 max, I'm okay with it. Going to be putting in a flex fuel sensor with the connector, and then we have these connectors here. There's the part number, it's on there too, but these are the quick disconnect connectors to put it to an AN. And I also have some loom here for the wiring that isn't part of the relay wiring we have. The other thing I'm also going to be doing in this video is relocating the battery. It's in the stock location and I want to tuck it up under here. I was a little worried that because I want to do a tubular radiator support that I'm going to try and make myself, and with the intercooler I have that's not a back door, that the pipe might be in the way of the battery there, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it there and deal with the intercooler piping later and try and figure that out, because I might need to modify the intercooler I have or something. But anyways, that's a different video. So I think we're just gonna jump right into it. I think I'm going to start with the battery relocation because I think that's probably going to take me the longest. So what I'm going to do is just cut up some angle iron and weld them together, and I'm probably going to bolt it into the car and not weld it so it can be removable. So let's just start at it and we'll start cutting some metal. Well, I have to take this battery tray out because I decided to try and use this as part of a frame, but it's got to come out anyways because I want to redo the engine bay. But the bolts are rusty, so we got to torch them out. It's amazing what a little heat does. I was just trying these with no heat earlier. Couldn't get anything out of it. My dad always used to bust my balls because I would never use heat. So you don't need that. You need it. Alright, well, that's one down. I'm going to try and do the other 3 because it's probably going to take me a little while, and try not to burn us down because there's a bunch of shit over here from the car sitting for years. So let me try that, and then we'll get back to cutting that thing and cutting some metal. Okay, well, it's been a couple of days. I struggled kind of hard getting this out, but I was able to fully get this battery tray out. I ended up cutting the back side of it off. This little stand here, cut that off. And then I cut a couple of these. There was a plate here, and I cut that off so it can fit flushly on a piece of angle iron. So my plan for this is to take this piece of angle iron and from here to here, from the bottom of this all the way up to here, or about here, is the height of the battery. I was hoping I could maybe put it here, but the battery's a little too tall, so I'm going to put it down here and weld it along this seam, front and back. And I may put a plate in here, but probably not, because I plan on bolting this bracket to I plan on bolting this to the car. So my plan with this is to lop these off and get it so I have a piece like that, and then on both ends, one here and one here, and then putting a piece of straight bar in between the two angle irons, and then I will put holes, either 3 or 4 holes, and riv nut holes into the frame of the car. And I'm probably going to, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little bend here. I'm probably gonna have to put a little bend in the bar possibly to get it to fit, or I might just put one bolt, like say here, and then 2 over here to make it a little simpler so you don't have to worry about the bend. So I was been cutting and hacking and welding in these last clips here, and I ended up welding this piece of angle iron on, and then I welded a piece of flat steel there, sheet metal, there you go. And I was going to put a brace from here to here, but when I went to, after I welded this on, I noticed last night the battery needed to be turned a little, so I probably would have been better off turning this a little. But after I welded this on, I noticed it doesn't really sit on here all the way, and I realized I have this stuff, which I probably just should have started with this, but seeing how I have it, I'm going to weld this on here now. I left a little gap here to weld here and all around, and then I don't have to worry about bracing it because this is 1/4 inch thick, and it will give the battery a little bit more to stand off. So I'm going to not film this, but I'm going to weld this all in, and then I'm going to weld another flat bar, I think only, and not angle iron, up here, and then make some bolts, as unfortunately I didn't make this tall enough to go above the battery, but if I can put a bolt in the back here, it should be okay. And same thing on this side, and then you just have to remove the battery to take this off. But Thinking about it, I may end up just welding this all the way in. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna do some more work and I'll show you what I got. So this is the contraption that I came up with. I ended up, this had this angle iron piece, and I put a straight piece here and then welded a straight piece in between them with a little bend in it, and then decided that I should probably put a couple braces on the side. It's not very pretty, but it was all free. It didn't cost me anything. I realized after I put this one on that I didn't have this bar over far enough here, so when I went to go slide the battery in, it hit, so I just had to modify it. But it fits up in there pretty dang good. I have it marked, lines marked here where it needs to go. And then this is why I put the bend in here, is for that. I was going to put a hole in here for the J-hook, but what I'm going to do is just lay the J-hook level with this and weld it to this battery plate here. So you just have to, when you want to take the battery out, you would just have to take the top piece off and this J-hook over here. And I test fitted it, the battery will roll out. I just had to cut a little bit of the body right here. But you basically just take the battery and roll it towards you, and then you can take it out. But I do plan on, up in this area right here, I'm going to plate this hole in, and I am going to do a positive and a negative, so if I need to jump start it or charge it, I can do it from right there. Well, I ended up getting this fully completed. I painted it, I welded on the J-hook here. Yeah, so I don't have to worry about putting a hole through this thick 1/4 inch and then the 1/8 inch thick angle iron underneath, even though it would have been nice to put a hole in this because it would have been another anchor point to hold this down. In hindsight, I probably should have made this out of angle iron, but you know, I wanted to try and save the base to make a little less work, and it probably was just as much work. I honestly spent more time than I wanted to on this, but I'm going to install it with you guys now so you can see how it looks. Okay, so I did drill, put 3 riv nuts in here, and I tack welded them in to give them more stability and to not have to worry about them spinning. Sits nicely on this ledge here, which will help it out if the bolts ever come loose or anything. It will also be supported as to where, like, the ones that you purchase, some of them in the pictures literally look like they're self drilling bolts, or you know, like self tappers that they put in there. So this will definitely be much stronger because I got M10s. Okay, and then you put the stock battery tray in, and then you take the battery and you just tip it in, just like that, and you will be able to slide the hole down on there. It's installed. Really sturdy. You know, the battery just battery's moving because of the J hooks there, which normally it would move, but it seems to be okay. You know, the actual mount, there isn't much movement there, so I think this should be okay. You know, because normally your battery would move a tiny bit in the car when you shake it, because the J hook's moving back and forth. I also might be able to tighten it down a little bit more. So I did put a piece of rubber under this bracket here, so the battery's not being smushed by the aluminum. Yeah, that's even better. Battery doesn't move at all. Yeah, that's nice. Came out really good. There's one thing, I don't know if I've mentioned it at all, but I had to be curious of this clearance, which when you turn it all the way, if you look down here, this is where it would contact, you know, when the wheel would be up here, or the closest the wheel would be. So it looks like I'll have about an inch. I have compressed the wheel up all the way just to look, but so we'll be good there. Alright, so now I think I'm going to move on to putting the fuel tank in and either starting the wiring or the fuel lines, one or the other. I think I'm going to put the lines on the tank, like some of the fittings, put the tank up, maybe put the connector. I might wait to put the connector on for the fuel pump in the tank, but before I put it up, but let's get to that. I'm gonna be replacing this because this thing's really messed up. Alright, so now I need to, you just watched me P-clamp and put some riv nuts in here to put the relay and the fuse, and then I P-clamped the harness down over here. I'm going to do the same with it, probably up here, another like 1 or 2 P-clamps, and then have it go out the tunnel here. But what I need to do is wire the relay control side, which I'm going to use the factory wiring harness, which is this black and yellow wire right here. Don't confuse it with this black and yellow wire, these black and yellow wires, which are for the sending unit. Alright, well I ended up having to come out here and redo some of this wiring here. It's actually been a few days. I finished this video and then started editing it, and then realized that some of this wiring that I did previously was really just one thing that I did in the wiring was incorrect, and I wanted to change that, which was I mounted this fuse down in the body down in here, and I realized that you want the fuse up here because if you have a short in between the wire here, it would start a fire. So what I did is I cut the fuse off down here. I'll show you. Just need to get a flashlight. So in the last clip I was wiring all of this, and I had the relay down here, and I basically just cut the wire and twisted it together and soldered it, and then I opened the wire down here and put the relay in here. And I also realized when I was editing the video that I deleted most of the wiring footage and some of the fuel filter wiring, so I'm going to show you this wiring. This is going to be like in between some of the clips here, I guess. So so it's really going to be kind of bouncing around because I had a time lapse on also that didn't work out because it wasn't actually on the correct time lapse, and I might not be able to show some of it because it has music. But anyways, I got these terminals that have these 4 prongs on them, and you can put the cable in here. And I got these because I plan on putting like jumper connectors on them, and like fuel pump, or sorry, fan, and there was one other thing. So these were going to be much more useful. So let me show you the wiring. So it basically starts here, and I wrapped it, and it goes along in here and through the boot there, and then it travels all along here with P-clamps all in it. And then I mounted the relay here with a riv nut and then some more P-clamps, and then I have this tied into this portion right here. is tied into the factory wiring, fuel pump wiring. So when it goes to command the fuel pump on, it will command this relay on, and it will turn this on. And then this connector, I put in a Deutsch connector for the sending unit, and all of that comes out and goes into this loom, into there. And let me get under the car. All right, now that we're under the car, I will show you the rest of the wiring, and then the fuel pump wires or lines I'll show. I have in another clip. So I basically pinned a Delphi connector up there, which I'll show you in a second, and then ran the lines on P-clamps all the way up here, and they come out in the factory location there. So now let me get back out and I'll show you the access panel. This is the Delphi connector I was talking about, and yeah, so that pretty much wraps up the wiring, and then these next clips will be what I did the other day for the fuel lines. I also don't know if I showed this, but I didn't talk about it. This is a new, or I might have, and I forgot about it, but this is a new riv nut tool I got. It's much easier than the big clamping one. You can get it in tight areas. Like I could probably use the clamping one here, but the only thing with this one is you really gotta grip it. And this is to add in a clip for the fuel lines, for the fuel filter, I mean, because I missed mounting that. There was two studs here. There's one below and one here. And I have the alpha injection fuel filter. And I basically just had to open and oblong the holes for the bracket, and they slid on perfectly. Yeah, so what I'm planning on doing with this is putting a 90 here, all the way up to here, and a 90 here, but I want to do that when I get the other intake manifold on. So in the last clip, I had the time lapse going, and the battery on my GoPro died, and I was too lazy to go back inside, so I really just finished it up, and I also wasn't sure if you guys could really tell what I was doing down there. It's dark, and it's hard to film and work under the car. So I pretty much just wanted to get this all wrapped up so I could wrap this portion of the video up. So I have all the fuel lines done, except the return, which I was going to run over there, but I realized that I should have used the Fragola line for the return because it needed to be longer, and this would have been just perfect for the feed, but we didn't do that. So now what I'm going to do is cut this here, put a male fitting on, and put a 90 here, and then I'm going to have the line run this way, and I'm probably going to P-clamp it here, and it will run up and over under the intake to the fuel regulator. And then the return, I'm probably it's going to be a 90, I think, to a 90 here. So let me bring you guys under the car. So before we go under the car, I figured I would show you here. This is the patch panel I have, and I plan on using this rubber foam. I just need to get more and lay it down like this, and probably not peel this side off because it's sticky too. At least I believe it is. Oh no, it's not sticky on this side. Okay, so just lay this down on the perimeter, and then this can sandwich over there. So the only thing I didn't do also in this video is the vent, which I'll do in a separate time, but I'm literally just going to add AN hose, and then I'm gonna coil it up and probably zip tie or P-clamp it somewhere, but I also did get an end for it. All right, so now we're under the car, and like I was talking about, I'm gonna probably coil it up under here somewhere and either mount it over here, or I might mount it over there somewhere, or just like probably zip tie it maybe to these lines right here or something. But I do have a straight AN just to put an end on it, so it's just not a frayed end on the vent tube. But this is going to look a little different than it did in the last clips you guys saw me. I did have the fuel lines hooked up here and then running down, but I decided that I was going to mount this like on the floor here, but way up in the front of the car, and I decided that I didn't like how low everything was going to be, so this decided to be a better perfect mount. I'm just going to have to extend these wires a lot longer when I need to wire them to the ECU, but when I do, I'm just going to make another loom and put a little bit bigger P-clamps here and just route it the same as the fuel pump wiring. But I have some rubber hose cut in half, 5/8 hose cut in half to protect, which I will zip tie these all together. It's not finalized yet, but to protect from the metal and from rubbing here. And I got 5 of these clamps on, so the fuel line is all held up. And with these, I actually had to drill them all the way out because I didn't realize when I was tightening them that the screw was going to bottom out and would be bottomed out before the clamp would be tightened to the body. So I drilled them all the way out, so these are all nice and tight. And then I have some more hose up here to protect from the metal and it rubbing. And just, you know, loops around and give you a look down this way. All right, now let me crawl outside the vehicle and then we'll end this. All right, well, this should wrap this video up. I took way longer than I thought it was going to. It's Sunday. It took 8 days or whatever of working on and off, and some of the stuff, like I spent 2 hours yesterday messing with just pinning those connectors. It just was fighting me so bad, but we got it done, so that makes me feel really good. Once I put the intake manifold on, I'll finish the other fuel lines. I'm going to do that probably after I do the next project. I'm going to do the tubular radiator support. So that should be interesting. I've never made any one of those, so it shouldn't be too bad, but I feel like it might be getting the bends right, might be a little bit of a project. But I'm going to put the intake manifold on after that, and then probably start marking up the intercooler and then doing the intercooler pipes. And then I can do the fuel lines for that. So, yeah, I think that's all I got to say. So I just want to say before we go, if you're subscribed, thank you very much, and hope to catch you next time.